thanks for joining us again. Movie Geeks Point of View, and your host Ryan Martin. We've just into January, so a happy new year to everyone. Today we're actually going to talk about the best and worst movies from 2014, and we're going to give a quick look at the movies we're looking forward to most in 2015. Today I am once again joined by Ali McLaren.
Hey guys.
Who actually hates me calling him Alistair, so that could be the fun part of this evening. I am also joined today by Graeme Smith.
Hello. That's all I've got.
Hello. None of them say Happy New Year. They're very rude.
To be fair, we're 11 days in, so we're past New Year now. So
we're 11 days in. I'll give you that. We're just running a bit late on actually getting this up, and it probably will not be 11 days in by the time I have it uploaded. But yeah, as I say, today we're going to discuss the best and worst movies of 2015, and we're going to go through a few of them in genres. And the first genre we're going to discuss is science fiction and fantasy. So we'll start with Ali. Ali, what do you think was the best movie from science fiction and fantasy? What do you think was the worst movie?
His name was Alistair.
Either or. What do you think was the best? What do you think was the worst? And what are your reasons for thinking this?
Well, my favourite one for fantasy has got to be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I just thought that was an absolutely amazing sequel from Rise of Planet of the Apes. No other words to describe it, but just utterly amazing. And I can't wait for the third film. My worst one actually was the reboot of the RoboCop franchise. The RoboCop franchise had all this good archive knowledge from the past. They could have turned the up-to-date film into something even better, and it just was a big letdown for me, I'm afraid.
I just want to say, if anyone is wondering, that is Graham's baby in the background.
Oh, you can hear her.
You can hear her, yes. You can't see her, but Graeme is looking after his child, so there may be some baby noises throughout the...
No babies were harmed in the making of this video.
We can't guarantee that until the video is over, I'm afraid, Graeme. Well, right, Graeme, what was your favourite science fiction / fantasy film, and what are your thoughts on Ali's picks?
Ali's picks, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Certainly I agree, it was a very good movie. I'm not quite as sold on how amazing it is as Ali is. Don't think it was as good as the first one in the rebooted series, but it's not going to stop me going to see the third one, because it's certainly good enough to keep the interest going. Worst one I've not actually seen. I can't really comment on that, but certainly it's a little suspicious that RoboCop, the reboot, is a 12A, given what was so notable about the original. Getting on to my favourite, I suppose that would be Interstellar. It's obviously science fiction. Just the scale of it, the intelligence of it. I think it's very ambitious movie making. You don't expect a movie like that to get a huge audience, because it was very wordy, it's very scientific. But I thought it was extremely well done. My worst one is also science fiction. I'm a little bit disappointed to say it's my worst one, because it's Under the Skin, which was a movie that was filmed in Scotland, starring Scarlett Johansson. So that was two reasons to go see it right there. But yeah, it was just very poor. The idea was quite good, but it was very. The director was trying to be a bit too artistic with it, instead of just making entertainment, which I think movies should be most of the time. They're supposed to entertain. He was too concerned with making it a piece of art, I think. And for that reason, it didn't really go down that well with me.
Fair enough. Well, on to mine then. As for a quick overview of your picks, I certainly would not have said Interstellar was the best movie of the year. best science fiction movie of the year. Ali, for you saying RoboCop, the reboot, I didn't think it was too bad. It was a 12A. They did take most of
They toned it down quite a bit.
They had
apart
to.
from the action sequence.
Yeah, they were wanting to appeal to a larger audience, and there was a RoboCop cartoon, there's RoboCop comics. They thought a movie could appeal to a younger audience as well, and if they make it an 18 with the extreme violence that the previous films had, then they wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't say it was fantastic. I still much prefer the original trilogy, but that being said, it is much better than the other movies they made. I believe they made 7 RoboCop films in total. But right, on to...
When you say the original trilogy is better than it, do you mean all 3 films individually are better than it?
I think so, yeah. I would much rather watch one of the original trilogy, any one of them, but then all 3 of the original trilogy are crazy violent. And
apart from RoboCop 3, RoboCop 3 got toned down.
It was still
quite
considerably more violent than the reboot. Well, anyway, on to my favourite movie, favourite science fiction / fantasy film of the year. I am actually agreeing with Ali in saying Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the actors in it were great. Gary Oldman was great. I think it took a twist that we didn't expect. We all just kind of expected Gary Oldman to be the straight up bad guy, and it didn't really work out like that. I mean, he was the villain, but he wasn't a moustache twirling villain. He wasn't just like, you know, I'm a bad guy just for the sake of being a bad guy. He had his reasons, and you could understand them, which I thought was fantastic. I thought Andy Serkis again was incredible as Caesar. The whole motion capture thing they done in general was brilliant. Everything about the film I thought was great. Plus, we got to see apes riding horses with machine guns, and that's just cool. That's just cool.
The opening scene alone just sold it for me, with all those apes in the back. Well, we see Caesar's eyes at first, and then all the apes in the background. It was just like, oh, this is going to be a good film. You just could see it from that, you know.
Okay, on to my least favourite of the sci-fi fantasy genre. I'm actually agreeing with Graeme and going under the skin. I 100% agree that the concept was good. I loved the fact that it was filmed in Scotland, in Glasgow, because, you know, we get to go to a movie and we recognise places. And Scarlett Johansson, and you saw her naked. How could that be bad? Well, unfortunately, the rest of the film was bad, so that wasn't enough to make up for it. Scarlett Johansson put on a brilliant performance, I will say, and you can see why people didn't recognise her. She was putting on a completely different accent. She was very good in it, so she was good, but like Graeme said, the director was he seemed too concerned about making an art house film, so I felt every single shot in the movie went on for about twice as long as it had to. We're talking about a shot where she's eating a bit cake, and it went on for maybe 15 seconds, and 15 seconds of her taking a fork full of cake is just entirely unnecessary. So that is my pick. So I actually kind of agree with both of yous, and disagree with both of yous at the same time. Right, the superhero genre then, that's our next one. So Graeme, what is your favourite and least favourite of the superhero movies of the year, and why?
Well, my favourite, it was a close call, but I had to go with Guardians of the Galaxy. Just something that I'd never seen before. I'd never heard of these people before the Marvel movie came along. They're not kind of in the public consciousness, I don't think, until now.
They are now, yeah. Now they're definitely
It was wonderfully unique, original. The characters in it, from Groot to Drax, just fantastically written. Very simple, but sometimes simple's the best. In the case of I Am Groot. Yeah, just very funny, and for the villain to be stopped at the end of the movie by a guy doing stupid dancing is something that I don't think we've seen before.
All the 80s references in that movie were fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the bit where Star-Lord is talking to Gamora, and he's talking to her about a hero called Kevin Bacon who taught a town how to dance. That was just hilarious. So, right, your least favourite. I think I can see what's coming with this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a huge amount of superhero movies to choose from in the year, and I didn't think any of them were bad. But if I'm forced to choose a worse one, there's nothing to choose apart from Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, which is purely because Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America were fantastic.
What about
And Spider-Man
Days of
was,
Future Past?
which I haven't seen, I'm afraid, so I couldn't possibly comment on it. But yeah, Spider-Man, it was not a bad movie. I quite enjoyed it actually, but it was hit hard by how good the rest of the movies were this year. So I don't want to slam it too much because, like I say, I did quite enjoy it. But yeah, it carried on from the first Amazing Spider-Man with just being good. They've not hit the heights in this rebooted series yet.
Ali,
Yes.
thoughts on Graham's picks and your picks?
My picks, I'm going to have to say, it's got to be. It's actually a little bit of a tie for me because one is the reboot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films, which, well, the first one that came out last year, which I just thought was absolutely amazing, and it's joint tied with Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I just thought was an absolute unbelievable film, hands down. Unfortunately, I have not seen X-Men: Days of Future Past, so I can't comment on that. I did see The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I have to agree with Graham there that it was not the best. It had all the elements in there to be the best of the Spider-Man film franchise, but it just seemed to be something was missing in it, and the fact that they've made Rhino a Transformer ripoff as well was just kind of rubbish. And as for Guardians of the Galaxy go, yeah, I'll completely agree with that. I thought it was an absolute brilliant film. Like yourself, Graham, I had not actually heard about these characters at all. It was a question I asked Ryan one day, and he told me that all these crooks basically come together to form basically a galaxy version of the Avengers, and it was I have to say, after watching it twice, both me and my partner think it was one of the best films of superhero wise last year.
Okay, well, my two picks, and I really couldn't argue with any superhero film you would pick here, because all four of them, I did see all four of them, and I liked all four of them.
Hold on a second. We've actually picked out 5. Ali's added a 5th one to the list.
No, I put a tie-in, sorry. I put a tie-in with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Winter Soldier, sorry.
I wasn't counting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a superhero one, but I'll let you have it.
I'm slightly concerned that I'm participating in a podcast with someone who would consider that as the best superhero movie of the year.
It was just because I'm a big Turtles fan, dude, that's all. If it was He-Man and the Masters Universe that was out last year, I would have said that, just purely because I'm an 80s, 90s kid.
Turtles is from a comic book, and I suppose they are heroes, but I don't know, when you say superhero, the Teenage
Of course they're heroes, they're heroes in a half shell.
Don't come to mind. But, okay, right. For my favourite one, I'm going to go with X-Men Days of Future Past. The film that neither of yous have seen, which I cannot believe. It was absolutely fantastic. It is one of the best X-Men movies made. Bryan Singer is back on form with it. All 3 of his X-Men movies have been outstanding. He done the first one, the second one, and now this one. And this one's got the added bonus. We get both Xaviers, we get both Magnetos, we get both Xaviers in a scene together. Hugh Jackman, as always, is brilliant as Wolverine. We get to meet loads of new characters and stuff in it, even though they're not in it for massive parts, but we still get to meet them. The Quicksilver scene was incredible, and it gives the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron something they've really got to shoot for, because their Quicksilver is going to be compared to the Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, and he was only in a couple of scenes, but that one scene stole the movie. So they're going to really have to compete with that. Also, this is a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it. You may want to cover your ears for a couple of seconds, because this film... Nice, Graeme takes his earphones out. This film completely reboots the X-Men franchise and allows them to correct all the mistakes they made from the likes of X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men 3 The Last Stand. This film, in one fatal swoop, has completely outdone them, and I thought it was a fantastic movie.
Just realised I've got a problem. How do I know when to put the earphones back in?
Ali, wave to Graeme so he knows where to put the earphones back in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Right, as for the worst superhero film of the year, I have to agree with both of you and say it was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't think it was a bad movie by any means, but it did have its issues. It did feel a bit disjointed in parts, and that is because they completely erased a major character from the movie, and they just cut her scenes out and put the rest together and hope it worked. And it was okay, but compared to the other three, because I'm not counting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but compared to the other three superhero movies of the year, it was not on par. You both need to watch X-Men Days of Future Past. Right,
it's on the list.
I'll go and buy it on payday.
Genre, I will start, and it is the best and worst movie from 2014 in the comedy genre. I will say the best comedy of 2014 was Bad Neighbours. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Yep. Seth Rogen, Zac Efron were both brilliant in it. Rose Byrne was brilliant in it. There was a bit where they were discussing which Batman they consider to be the best Batman. Seth Rogen was saying Michael Keaton and Zac Efron was saying Christian Bale. Hilarious. One of the funniest fight scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And Zac Efron and Seth Rogen shirtless at one point. And just the two of them standing next to each other without their shirts on was hilarious. Just the comparison. Zac Efron with his six-pack and stuff, and Seth Rogen with his flab. I just thought the whole film was really good. I don't actually think there were any negatives to that movie at all. I really enjoyed it. And it was probably the most adult comedy of 2014 as well. So props to that. My least favourite of the year was one that came out at the very start of 2014, and it was called Ride Along, starring Ice Cube. It was a comedy cop movie where this guy wanted to date Ice Cube's sister, so Ice Cube says, "Oh, you need to prove yourself and come on a ride along with me," because for some reason riding in a police car for the day can prove he's man enough. And my main issue with it, I did laugh maybe once or twice, but my main issue is I don't think Ice Cube should ever lead a film. I don't think he's nearly a good enough actor to be the main star. I think he's fine as a secondary character. I really like him in the Jump Street films, but I don't think he's got the acting chops to lead. And like I say, I maybe laughed once or twice, and it was more of a snigger than a proper...
It was a what?
A snigger.
Just checking, two black guys starring in this movie.
Hmm? Oh,
no, never mind.
Okay, I just clicked onto that. That's risky humour you're going for right there. But,
I just don't like Kevin Hart. I think Kevin Hart's one of the worst actors.
The other guy's name. Yeah, that's the other guy's name. I couldn't remember his name, but I did not enjoy the film. So, right, Ali, what were your favourite and least favourite comedies of the year, and have you seen them? What did you think of my selections?
I haven't actually seen your selection at all. My actual picks. My favourite comedy of last year was actually the Lego Movie. I thought that was just an absolute really cool film. And I spoke about it with you, Ryan, that absolutely everything that they had in that film was made of Lego, and it was just... That got a huge bits of laughs out of me.
It wasn't actually made from Lego. It was all computer animated, but it was animated to look like it was made from Lego.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, that's what I'm meaning. That's what I'm meaning.
but yeah, it was fantastic. I agree. It was a good film. So your worst film, your worst comedy.
My worst comedy of last year, and it pains me to say it because I am a huge fan of his, but it was Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie. I'm a huge fan of the Mrs. Brown's Boys TV series. I think Brendan O'Connell, can't pronounce his last name, sorry, is absolutely brilliant. But for some reason, the trailer seemed to be better than the actual movie itself. And the trailer it's spoiled by the trailer obviously putting the best bits of the film, and you laughed your ass off at that. But when I actually sat down and watched the film, I was like, this is absolutely rubbish. They should have just kept it to the TV series.
Okay, Graeme.
Yeah.
Did you see Mrs. Brown's Boys?
No, I did not.
I did,
like
unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I did like the TV show, what parts of it I've seen, but the trailer for Mrs. Brown's Boys was enough to put me off. There was nothing funny in it. It looked terrible. And I didn't want to see it.
Which is a shame. Which is a real shame.
Well, I went to see it, and I can honestly say Ride Along just narrowly beat it as the worst comedy of the year. It was very close between Mrs. Brown's Boys and Ride Along, and Ride Along just edged it
out. Well, for me, my worst one was The Delivery Man, which was Vince Vaughn, way back in January. Also, if you're nostalgic for Chris Pratt as a fat guy before he became an action hero, I think that might have been his last role in that role, I suppose.
Before he got ripped
it
up.
was exactly. But yeah, just not really funny at all. Continues. I don't know what you were saying about Adam Sandler and your actors that people seem to like for no reason. Vince Vaughn seems to have made garbage for a long while now. I can't think off the top of my head of the last comedy that I really enjoyed of his that I would even call a comedy.
The last one I saw was Couples Retreat, and after that it just seemed to all go downhill for me with him from there.
Couples Retreat, even that's not too great for me. I mean, it had some funny bits,
No.
Yeah. I think Wedding Crashers is the last one I loved of his, and that was 2005, if I'm remembering rightly. So 10 years now, jeez.
So your favourite?
My favourite is The In-Betweeners 2, which might surprise some people.
Good choice.
It's not as good. It's not as good as the first one, I will say that openly. But going on what films I've seen this year have made me laugh the hardest in the cinema, it was definitely In-Betweeners. Ryan, you were talking about Bad Neighbours being the most grown-up. Well, having seen Neil piss into Simon's mouth in The In-Betweeners 2, I'm not sure I would agree with that. Just typical British lads, stupid humour, really, really funny. Bad Neighbours, though, was Ryan's favourite. I did see that, and I do think it's very, very good. Ali, you need to see it. The airbag gag is fantastic.
Oh, yes, that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Not just the first bit where he goes into the office roof, but when he's looking around the house, checking under every cushion, paranoid.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
Great. Yeah, there's one more. There's one looking for the last airbag. Classic. Well,
great choice from Ryan, but not quite my number one, I'm afraid. Lego Movie I haven't seen.
Actually didn't make it to see the second In-Betweeners film. I planned to, but it's one of the ones I just never quite found the time to get round to actually seeing.
Yeah.
So I will be watching it reasonably soon. First chance I get.
You keep an eye out. It'll eventually be in HMV's 5 for 30. So
I'm sure it will, and I will watch it then.